Barron Trump sacrifices his life to save Elon Musk from assassin. Thank you. This title sets the stage for an epic, high-stakes story filled with drama, action, and sacrifice. Here's how I'll structure it. Tone: suspenseful and emotional, with moments of intense action followed by heartfelt reflection. Structure: the story will have a dramatic build-up to the assassination attempt, the shocking moment when Barron intervenes, and a powerful aftermath focusing on the emotional impact and global reaction. Word count goal: 6,000 plus words to maximize emotional tension and character development. Let's begin with the first 1,500 words. It was a perfect afternoon at Tesla Stadium, where thousands of spectators gathered for the much-anticipated charity soccer match. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk stood near the sidelines, engaging in light-hearted conversation with his friend Barron Trump, who had recently emerged as a rising public figure known for his charitable initiatives and calm, confident demeanor. The stadium hummed with energy, a sea of blue and gold as fans cheered and chanted. The event was supposed to be a celebration, a unifying moment for leaders, innovators, and ordinary people alike. No one suspected that danger lurked in the shadows. Barron, standing tall and composed, leaned toward Elon. "This is going to be a great day," he said with a faint smile. "The turnout is bigger than we expected." Elon nodded. "Absolutely. It's a reminder that people are still willing to come together for a good cause." But beneath the surface of the festivities, something sinister was brewing. A man dressed in black, blending seamlessly with the event staff, moved stealthily through the crowd. His eyes remained fixed on one target, Elon Musk. He had planned this for weeks, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Today was the day. The assassin made his way toward the front row, slipping through security with practiced ease. He reached into his jacket, fingers brushing against the cold metal of a concealed weapon. His heart pounded, but his face remained calm, betraying nothing. Barron sensed something was off. His eyes scanned the crowd, his instincts kicking in. He caught sight of the man, a shadow moving against the light, his intent written in the tension of his body. Time seemed to slow. "Elon!" Barron shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. Elon turned, confused, just as the assassin raised his weapon. The crack of a gunshot echoed through the stadium. Without thinking, Barron threw himself in front of Elon, his arms outstretched, shielding him from the bullet. The impact sent Barron staggering backward, his body crumpling to the ground. Chaos erupted. People screamed, security personnel swarmed the area, and the assassin vanished into the panicked crowd. Elon dropped to his knees beside Barron, his heart racing. "Barron! Stay with me!" Barron's eyes fluttered open, pain etched across his face. Are you okay?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I'm fine," Elon said, his voice breaking. "You're going to be okay. Help is on the way." Paramedics rushed onto the field, their faces grim as they assessed the situation. Barron's breathing was shallow, his skin pale. Elon refused to leave his side, gripping his hand tightly. "Hang in there, Barron. You're the bravest person I've ever known." The news spread like wildfire. Within minutes, headlines flashed across every screen. Barron Trump takes bullet meant for Elon Musk. Condition critical. Heroic act at Tesla Stadium. Young leaders saves billionaire's life. World holds its breath as Barron Trump fights for survival. Social media erupted with messages of shock, prayers, and support. People from all corners of the globe shared their thoughts, united in hope for Barron's recovery. At the hospital, doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize him. Elon paced the waiting room, his mind racing. Memories of their conversation moments before the shooting replayed in his head. Barron had been calm, confident, completely unaware of the danger that was about to unfold. Clara, Elon's closest advisor, arrived breathless, her eyes filled with worry. "How is he?" "He's still in surgery," Elon said, his voice hollow. "He saved my life, Clara. If he hadn't," he couldn't finish the sentence. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on him like a heavy stone. "We'll stay here until we know more," Clara said gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Barron's strong. He'll pull through." It was a perfect spring afternoon, the air buzzing with excitement at Tesla Stadium. where a high-profile charity soccer match was about to begin. Spectators packed the stands, eager to watch influential figures from politics, business, and sports come together for a good cause. Among them were Elon Musk, founder of Tesla and SpaceX, and his close friend Barron Trump, who had grown into a confident and charismatic public figure known for his philanthropic work. Barron, now in his early 20s, had taken the world by storm with his calm leadership and humanitarian initiatives. Standing nearly as tall as Elon, with a quiet yet commanding presence, he leaned toward him with a small smile. "Quite the turnout," Barron said, surveying the stadium. "It's good to see people still willing to unite for something bigger than themselves." Elon nodded, adjusting his suit jacket. "It's what we need right now, something positive." But as the two men shared a light-hearted moment, a shadow moved through the crowd. A man dressed in black, his face partially obscured by a cap. He was calm, blending in with event staff as he maneuvered his way closer to the front row. His eyes locked on Elon Musk, his hand brushing against the cold metal of the pistol tucked beneath his jacket. He had waited for this moment for weeks. Today was the day. As the match began, the atmosphere grew electric. The stadium was alive with cheers, laughter, and the sound of thousands of people coming together in celebration. Barron and Elon exchanged stories and inside jokes, relaxed and unaware of the growing danger that crept closer with each passing second. The assassin scanned his surroundings, his heart steady but his mind racing. His target stood less than 20 feet away, within striking distance. This was his one shot, and he couldn't afford to miss. Barron suddenly felt a chill down his spine, his instincts kicking in. Something wasn't right. His eyes flicked toward the crowd, searching for the source of his unease. That's when he saw him, a man moving against the current, his gaze fixed on Elon with chilling intensity. His blood ran cold. "Elon," Barron said, his voice calm but urgent. "We need to move." Elon turned, puzzled by Barron's sudden seriousness. "What is it?" Before Barron could respond, the man in black stepped forward, raising his weapon. Time seemed to freeze as Barron's worst fears became reality. The crowd was oblivious to the danger, their cheers drowning out everything else. The gunman took aim. Without thinking, Barron lunged in front of Elon, his body acting on pure instinct. The crack of a gunshot shattered the air, echoing across the stadium. The bullet struck Barron square in the chest. Gasps and screams rippled through the crowd as Barron staggered backward, his eyes wide with shock. The force of the impact sent him crumpling to the ground, his body motionless. Elon's world slowed to a crawl. He dropped to his knees beside Barron, his heart pounding in his chest. "Barron," he shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "Stay with me." Barron's eyes fluttered open, pain etched across his face. Are you okay?" he whispered, his breath shallow. "I'm fine," Elon said, clutching Barron's hand. His voice wavered with emotion. "You're going to be okay. Help is on the way." Chaos erupted around them. Security swarmed the area, paramedics rushed onto the field, and the gunmen disappeared into the panicked crowd. The once celebratory atmosphere had turned into a scene of chaos and fear. Barron's breathing grew ragged as the paramedics worked frantically to stabilize him. Elon refused to let go of his hand. "You're the bravest person I've ever met," he said, his voice trembling. "You're going to pull through, I promise." Barron managed a faint smile before his eyes closed again, his body limp as the paramedics lifted him onto a stretcher. The news spread like wildfire. Within minutes, every major news outlet had picked up the story. Barron Trump takes bullet meant for Elon Musk. Condition critical. Heroic act at Tesla Stadium shocks the world. Global outpouring of support for Barron Trump. Social media erupted with messages of shock, prayers, and hope. Across the world, millions of people held their breath, waiting for updates on Barron's condition. At the hospital, Elon paced the waiting room, his mind racing. He replayed the moment over and over, the gunshot, Barron's fall, his whispered words. It felt like a nightmare, one he couldn't wake from. Clara arrived, breathless and wide-eyed. "How is he?" she asked, her voice tight with worry. "He's still in surgery," Elon said, his voice hollow. "He saved my life, Clara. If he hadn't jumped in front of me, his words caught in his throat. "He'll pull through," Clara said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Barron's strong. He'll fight this." But as the hours dragged on, the weight of the situation pressed down on Elon like a heavy stone. He had faced many challenges in his life, business failures, technological setbacks, but nothing compared to this. He had always believed in controlling his own destiny, but now, everything was out of his hands. As the days turned into weeks, Barron's story became a worldwide symbol of courage and selflessness. His heroic act was broadcast on every major news channel, and people around the globe rallied around him. Barron was no longer just the young, charismatic public figure. He had become something far greater, a living legend. Elon stayed close by his side throughout his recovery, determined to make sure Barron had everything he needed. Barron, however, remained humble, brushing off the attention as if it were no big deal. "I just did what anyone would have done," Barron said one morning as he sipped his coffee in the hospital's private recovery suite. Elon raised an eyebrow. "Anyone? I don't know about that. Most people would have run the other way." Barron grinned faintly. "I guess I'm just stubborn." "You're more than that," Elon said. "You've got more courage in one fingertip than most people have in their whole lives." Back in the public sphere, Barron's recovery and message of unity had sparked a movement. Social media was flooded with hashtags like #BeLikeBarron and #CourageUnites. Celebrities, political leaders, and ordinary citizens shared their own stories of bravery and resilience, inspired by Barron's example. More than just a trending topic, his story began to redefine leadership and courage for a new generation. Schools held assemblies dedicated to discussing his bravery, while community organizations launched programs to encourage young people to step up and help those in need. The White House organized a special ceremony to honor Barron's act of bravery, inviting him and Elon to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the country. The announcement made headlines, with many calling it the most well-deserved medal in history. The day of the ceremony arrived, and Washington, D.C. was buzzing with excitement. Crowds gathered outside the White House, holding signs that read "Thank you, Barron," and "True Hero." The media captured every moment, eager to witness history unfold. Barron, dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, stood beside Elon on the White House lawn, waiting for his name to be called. Despite his usual calm demeanor, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of nerves. Elon noticed and leaned in with a reassuring smile. "You've faced worse than a little public speaking," Elon said. "You've got this." Barron chuckled. "You're right. Getting shot was easier than giving a speech." The audience laughed as the president stepped up to the podium. "Today, we honor two extraordinary individuals whose actions remind us of the true meaning of bravery and selflessness," the president began. Barron Trump and Elon Musk have shown the world that leadership isn't about power, it's about sacrifice, compassion, and the willingness to stand up for what's right, even in the face of danger. He turned to Barron. "Barron, your act of courage saved a life that day, but it also inspired millions around the globe. On behalf of the nation, I want to thank you." The president placed the medal around Barron's neck as the crowd erupted into applause. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment for the history books. Elon stepped forward next, receiving his own medal. While Barron had taken the bullet, Elon's tireless efforts to stand by his friend and promote unity afterward had made just as much of an impact. The two men shook hands before embracing, their friendship stronger than ever. Later that evening, back at the hotel, Barron and Elon sat on the balcony, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. The medals hung around their necks, but neither of them seemed too focused on the honors they'd just received. "It feels strange," Barron said, tracing his fingers over the medal. "Being called a hero. I never thought I'd end up in this position." Elon nodded. "Life's funny like that. Sometimes it throws you into situations you'd never expect. But you didn't just survive it, you owned it." Barron smiled. "Thanks. Coming from you, that means a lot." They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, the hum of the city below filling the air. "You know," Elon said, his tone thoughtful, "this could be a beginning for something even bigger. You've got a platform now, a voice that people are listening to. We could do something with that." Barron looked at him, intrigued. "Like what?" Start a foundation, Elon suggested. Something that focuses on leadership, bravery, and unity. We could fund programs for young leaders, promote education in communities that need it, and give people the tools to make a real difference. Barron's eyes lit up. That's actually a great idea. We'll call it the Courage Foundation, Elon said, the excitement building. We can take your story and turn it into something that inspires action. Not just for today, but for generations. In the weeks that followed, the Courage Foundation was born. Fueled by donations from individuals, celebrities, and corporations around the world, it quickly became one of the most influential organizations of its kind. The foundation launched leadership academies, mentorship programs, and initiatives to promote unity and courage in schools. Barron and Elon traveled across the country, speaking at events and meeting young leaders. Everywhere they went, they heard stories of people who had been inspired by Barron's actions to stand up for what they believed in. One afternoon, while visiting a school in Chicago, a young girl named Sophia approached Barron with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "Because of you, I found the courage to stand up to a bully at my school. I wouldn't have done it without you." Barron knelt down to meet her gaze. "You had that courage all along," he said. "I just helped you see it." The foundation's work continued to grow, creating ripples of change that spread far beyond what anyone had expected. In every city they visited, Barron and Elon saw the impact firsthand. Communities coming together, young people stepping up to lead, and a new generation of heroes rising. For Elon, it was a reminder of why he had always believed in the power of innovation, not just in technology, but in human potential. For Barron, it was a chance to give back and build something that would outlast them both. One evening, as they wrapped up another successful event, Elon turned to Barron with a mischievous grin. "You know, we make a pretty good team." Barron laughed. "Yeah, we do. Think we should take on the world next?" Elon asked. Barron smirked. "Why not? We've already survived everything else." As they walked off into the night, their laughter echoing through the empty streets, it was clear that this was just the beginning. The world was changing, and together, Barron and Elon were ready to lead the way, side by side, turning every challenge into an opportunity for something greater. Because in the end, true leadership wasn't about medals or titles. It was about courage, friendship, and the unwavering belief that anything was possible. And for Barron and Elon, the best was yet to come. Months after the launch of the Courage Foundation, the world was beginning to feel the ripple effects of Barron and Elon's mission. Schools across the country adopted new leadership programs designed to encourage bravery, empathy, and unity. The foundation's mentorship initiative connected young people with experienced leaders in fields ranging from technology to social justice, empowering them to create change in their communities. Barron, fully recovered and back on his feet, had embraced his new role as a global ambassador for courage and resilience. Despite his natural humility, he had grown more comfortable with public speaking, learning how to use his voice to inspire others. At a packed auditorium in New York City, Barron stood on stage in front of thousands of students. His speech was raw and honest, filled with stories of his own fears and doubts, and how he found strength in moments of uncertainty. "Courage isn't about being fearless," Barron said, his voice steady. "It's about acting even when you're scared. It's about standing up not just for yourself, but for the people around you. Every one of you has that courage inside you. The world needs it, now more than ever." The crowd erupted into applause, and Barron stepped back from the podium, his heart full. He had never imagined himself in this position, but it felt right, like this was exactly where he was meant to be. Backstage, Elon waited with a proud smile. "That was incredible," he said, clapping Barron on the back. "You're getting good at this." "Thanks," Barron said, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "I'm still not sure I'll ever get used to it, but it feels important." "It is important," Elon said. "The world needs voices like yours." Barron nodded, taking a deep breath. "So, what's next?" Elon grinned. "Funny you should ask. We've got an idea for something big." He pulled out a tablet and swiped through a series of images, concept designs for the Global Courage Summit, an international event that would bring together leaders, activists, and innovators from around the world to share ideas and inspire action. We're thinking of hosting it in Geneva next year, Elon said. It'll be the largest gathering of its kind, thousands of people coming together to talk about leadership, bravery, and how we can solve the world's biggest challenges. Barron's eyes lit up. That's ambitious. I like it. I knew you would, Elon said with a chuckle. And we'll need you to give the keynote speech? Of course, Barron said, a mischievous glint in his eye. No pressure, right? As the months passed, preparations for the Global Courage Summit began in earnest. The event quickly gained momentum, attracting high-profile speakers, international organizations, and media outlets eager to cover what promised to be a historic gathering. Barron and Elon poured their hearts into the project, determined to make it more than just another conference. They envisioned it as a catalyst for real change, a place where ideas would turn into action and connections would spark new movements. In the weeks leading up to the summit, anticipation reached a fever pitch. News outlets called it the most important event of the decade, and social media was flooded with conversations about what it might achieve. But beneath the excitement, Barron couldn't shake a lingering sense of anxiety. He knew how high the stakes were. This wasn't just about him or Elon. It was about the thousands of people who believed in their vision, the communities they had promised to support, and the young leaders who looked up to them. The day of the summit arrived, and Geneva's conference center was transformed into a bustling hub of ideas and inspiration. Delegates from more than 100 countries filled the massive auditorium, their faces reflecting a mix of excitement and determination. Elon stood backstage with Barron, both of them dressed in sharp suits. The air was electric, charged with the energy of something monumental about to unfold. "You ready?" Elon asked, his eyes twinkling with excitement. Barron took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's do this." As the lights dimmed and the crowd hushed, Barron stepped onto the stage, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. He paused for a moment, taking in the sight of thousands of expectant faces. "Good morning," he began, his voice clear and confident. "Today, we come together not just to talk about courage, but to live it. To turn words into action, ideas into reality, and fear into strength." He spoke about the challenges facing the world: climate change, inequality, political division, and how each of them required bold, fearless leadership. He shared stories of the young leaders he had met through the Courage Foundation, ordinary people doing extraordinary things in their communities. "The future isn't something that happens to us," Barron said. "It's something we create, together." The crowd hung on every word, their eyes filled with hope. When he finished, the room erupted into a standing ovation, the applause lasting for nearly a full minute. After the summit, Barron and Elon were inundated with requests for interviews, partnerships, and collaborations. The event had exceeded even their wildest expectations, setting off a wave of new initiatives and movements. The media dubbed it the Courage Effect, celebrating how Barron and Elon's work was inspiring people around the world to take action in their own lives. A few weeks later, back in the familiar halls of the Courage Foundation, Barron sat in his office, reflecting on how far they had come. It had been an incredible journey, one that had started with a single act of bravery on that fateful day at Tesla Stadium. Elon knocked on the door, leaning against the frame. "Lost in thought?" "Just thinking about how crazy it's all been," Barron said with a smile. "If you told me a year ago that we'd be here, doing all this, I wouldn't have believed you." "Life has a funny way of surprising us," Elon said. "But none of this would have happened without you. It all started with your courage." Barron chuckled. "I think it started with a bullet and some really bad luck." "Maybe," Elon said, "but what you did with that moment, that's what matters. You turned it into something incredible." The two friends sat in comfortable silence, the weight of everything they had accomplished settling over them like a warm blanket. There were still challenges ahead, still battles to fight, but for now, they allowed themselves a moment to breathe. Because sometimes, the greatest victories weren't the ones you planned for, they were the ones you found in the most unexpected places. And as they looked out at the city beyond, they knew one thing for certain. The world was just beginning to see what they were capable of. In the months that followed the Global Courage Summit, the world continued to change. The ideas born at the summit grew into full-fledged movements. Community leaders, inspired by the stories shared on stage, returned to their countries with renewed purpose. Small projects turned into global initiatives, and courageous individuals who had once operated in the shadows stepped into the light. The Courage Foundation became the central hub for these efforts, offering resources, mentorship, and funding to hundreds of grassroots organizations. Its impact was undeniable. Crime rates dropped in inner-city neighborhoods where youth programs were launched, educational opportunities expanded in rural areas, and countless lives were transformed. For Barron, every new success was a reminder of how far they had come. But it was also a call to do more. No matter how much progress they made, there was always more work to be done. One evening, Barron found himself alone in his office, flipping through letters sent by young leaders from around the world. Each letter told a different story: a girl in India who had started a literacy program for her village, a boy in South Africa who had organized a community garden to combat food insecurity, a group of teenagers in Detroit who had launched an anti-bullying campaign at their school. The letters were proof that the Foundation's mission was making a difference. They were also a humbling reminder of the responsibility he now carried. The sound of footsteps interrupted his thoughts. He looked up to see Elon standing in the doorway, a mischievous grin on his face. "Still working?" Elon asked, leaning against the doorframe. "Always," Barron replied with a smile. "What about you?" Elon held up a takeout bag. "I figured you might need a break." "Thai food?" "You know me too well," Barron said, clearing a space on his desk. They ate in comfortable silence, the smell of spicy noodles filling the room. It felt like old times. Just the two of them, sharing ideas and making plans for the future. "You ever think about what's next?" Barron asked between bites. "Always," Elon said with a chuckle. "I've got a few crazy ideas brewing. But for now, I'm focused on this, on what we've built together." Barron nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking about that too. How we make sure it lasts." "It will," Elon said, his voice steady. "Because it's bigger than us now. It's in the hands of the people we've inspired. We've laid the foundation, they'll build the rest." The next morning, Barron and Elon stood on the balcony of the Foundation's headquarters, watching the sun rise over the city. The light bathed the skyline in golden hues, a symbol of the new day ahead. "We've done a lot," Barron said quietly. "But I feel like we're just getting started." "We are," Elon said. "And the best part is, we don't have to do it alone." He gestured to the streets below, where dozens of young leaders were gathering for a training session. Their faces were filled with hope and determination, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. "You've given them the courage to believe in themselves," Elon continued. "That's the greatest gift you could ever give." Barron smiled. "It feels surreal sometimes. All of this started because of one crazy day at Tesla Stadium." "Funny how life works," Elon said. "One moment can change everything." Later that day, Barron visited a nearby community center that had been one of the Foundation's earliest projects. The building was buzzing with activity, kids working on science projects, parents attending financial literacy classes, and volunteers handing out meals to families in need. As he walked through the halls, a little boy ran up to him, holding a handmade card. "Mr. Barron," the boy said excitedly. "This is for you." Barron knelt down, taking the card. It was a drawing of him and Elon, standing on a stage with capes on their backs and big smiles on their faces. Above them, in bright letters, were the words, "Real-life heroes." "Wow, this is amazing," Barron said, touched. "Thank you so much." The boy beamed. "You're welcome. My mom says you helped us a lot." "Your mom's right," Barron said. "But the real hero here is you. Keep being brave, okay?" The boy nodded, then ran back to join his friends. As Barron left the center, his heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. The future felt brighter, full of possibility. There would always be new challenges, new battles to fight. But for the first time, he truly believed they could overcome anything. Back at the Foundation's headquarters, he found Elon waiting for him with a familiar grin. "So," Elon said, "ready for the next adventure?" Barron laughed. "Always." The two friends walked off into the afternoon sun, their footsteps steady and sure. The world was still full of uncertainty, but they were ready for whatever came next. Because they knew that courage wasn't about being fearless. It was about facing the unknown, trusting each other, and believing in the power of a single act to change the world. And together, they had already proven that anything was possible.